My name is Booki Vivat, and I am the author and illustrator of Frazzled. And so, how many of you guys have actually finished Frazzled or in the middle of reading it? Okay, wow. So you guys are set. Okay, so you all know the basics. Like Frazzled is a story about a girl named Abby Woo, and Abby Woo is the kind of kid who is just always freaking out. And I bet you're wondering, like, why is she freaking out? What's wrong with this girl? And the reason is very simple, and it's two really scary words: middle school. And so Abby's really nervous about middle school because in middle school everything shifts. Everything is different and new. She has to deal with she has more homework. Her backpack is bigger and heavier. And on top of all that, at Abby's school, she's got to deal with her arch nemesis, the Spencer sisters, who also happen to live next door to her, which is not good. Then she has the lunch ladies at school who are a little corrupt because they don't give any of the good food to the younger kids. They only save it for the older kids, which Abby finds completely unfair. And on top of all that, she has a homeroom teacher who she's pretty sure is going to put a curse on her. So Abby has a lot of reasons to be freaking out about middle school. And so one of the things that everyone always wants to know is, are you Abby? Is Abby you? You guys kind of look the same, like our hair kind of looks similar. Is that you? And so to kind of help kind of get us through this question of the differences between Abby and I thought we would actually play a game of true or false. Okay, so everyone knows how to play this game, right? Easy. You don't know? I will basically give you a truth about Abby. So something that happens to Abby in the book, something about her, and then I'm going to ask you guys to guess whether or not it's true or false about me. Okay? Oh, that would be hard to play this game. So let's start with the first thing to know about Abby. So Abby is a middle child. So raise your hand if you are the oldest child. Okay. So hands down. What about youngest? Youngest? Okay. What about only child? Just one. There's just one of you. Okay, so a few of you. And then what about the rest of you who are somewhere in the middle? Okay. So for those of you who are in the middle, you know that being in the middle can be hard. So Abby's in the middle. She's got her older brother, Peter, who's he's like the popular kid. He's really cool. Everyone likes him. Adults and kids, they think he's really awesome. He's great at soccer. He's good at everything. And Abby doesn't think that she's good at anything, right? Then she's got her younger sister, Clara, who's like one of those kids who all the adults think is so cute and she'd get away with anything. So Abby finds this completely unfair, and she has a tough time being in the middle. So what do you think? True or false? I am the middle child. So raise your hand if you think this is true. Okay, hands down. Raise your hand if you think this is false. Okay, a few of you. So Abby really likes when things are really big and dramatic. So to make this a little bit more big and dramatic, we're gonna do like a drum roll, okay, while I unveil this. Okay, so let's get a drum roll going. Drum roll. The answer is false. False. I'm actually not the middle child. Technically I'm the oldest. So once this comes back, this is a picture of me and my younger sister, Bonnie. So even though I have one younger sister, and even though I'm the oldest child, I grew up with my cousin Clint, who was older than me. And so I always felt like I was kind of somewhere in the middle because my cousin thought he was really cool, and he and my sister like to leave me out of things. So I felt like I was the middle child. So I really identified with Abby, and so that's why I put that in this book. Okay, so next thing to know about Abby is Abby loves pastries. She hates middle school, but the good thing is her middle school happens to be next door to a pastry shop. So when she's so after school, if she's feeling bad, she can go to that pastry shop and have some away time from school. So what do you think? True or false? I love pastries. Raise your hand if you think this is true. Okay, raise your hand if you think this is false. Okay, so let's get a drum roll going. The answer is true. So obviously the answer is true because pastries are just really, really good. I love pastries. This is a picture of me when I was young, from a young age liking pastries. This is probably my third cupcake. And so I really love Pastries. I have a really cute pastry shop that I live next door to. It's really good. Also, a fun writer fact is that I think before I had this book, I think people knew I liked pastries. But after I wrote this book, everyone, like my family and my friends kind of got the message. They like realized like, oh, Booki loves pastries. And so for my birthday, literally, I'm not even joking, everyone in my life gave me like some kind of cupcake or cookie. So by the end of the day, I had like this huge spread of like pastries, just like really good pastries. And I ate at least like over half of them like in that night. And then like the next day I felt really bad, but like I was filled with like such happiness because it was so good. So if you like have a favorite food or something and you write a book, you should like sneak in your favorite food into your book. That way people might give it to you as like a present. It's like a really good trick. Okay, so the next thing to know about Abby is allergic to peanuts. And so that's pretty much like, is anyone here allergic to anything you can eat? Raise your hand if you're allergic to something you can eat. Okay, so those of you who have food allergies know that like if you eat that food, it's bad news. So the only good thing that came out of Abby having allergies, or having this like peanut allergy, is that that's how she met her best friend Maxine and Logan. So the story is that in kindergarten, Maxine and Logan had to sit at a separate table away from all the other kids because they had peanut allergies. So they had to sit at a peanut allergy table. And they hated this, but that's actually how they like got together and became best friends. So they've been best friends ever since kindergarten. And Maxine and Logan are actually really important because they help Abby survive the middle. They're like her group, her like friends that help her get through middle school. So, true or false? I am allergic to peanuts. Raise your hand if you think this is true. No one? A few. Okay. Raise your hand if you think this is false. Wow. Okay. So let's get a drum roll going. Drum roll. The answer is false. Wow, you guys know me so well. So I am lying. I'm not allergic to peanuts. I love peanut butter. And I really, really like when you put like peanut butter and chocolate together. So I love, like, you'll see, it's a picture of Reese's. It's delicious. I couldn't put that in the book because I think there's like some rule where you can't put certain things in books. But if I would have put Reese's in my book, and then I would have gotten lots of Reese's. So the last thing that I really want you to know about Abby is I want to tell you a little more about Abby's school. So Abby, I told you, went to middle school, but her school name is actually called Poindexter Middle School. So what do you think? True or false? I went to Poindexter Middle School. Raise your hand if you think this is true. Okay, raise your hand if you think this is false. Okay, this is the last one, so let's get a really epic drum roll. Drum roll. Let's just keep going until it comes back. Drum roll. The answer is coming soon. You can't stop. You can't stop. It's going to come back. I believe in this PowerPoint recipe. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. The answer is both. So this is like the trick question. Teachers always put like a trick question, and I'm going to tell you why this is a trick question, because it's a little bit true and a little bit false. So this is actually my real middle school sign. My school name was called Chaparral Middle School, but if you look really closely, it's on Poindexter Avenue. And so there was this like rumor when I started in 6th grade. So does everyone know what a rumor is? Can someone tell me what is a rumor?
Someone that talks about you in a bad way, then it spreads all over.
Okay, it could be something that talks about you in a bad way or something that spreads. What else? Mm-hmm.
A rumor is basically when someone says, most of the times it talks about someone else or about something that's kind of a little skeptical, but it like goes around.
Right. Okay, so it kind of goes around everywhere, but no one's really ever sure if it's real or not. So this is a rumor that I heard when I was in 6th grade and I started at Chaparral Middle School. The rumor was that the original principal who made the school wanted to name it Poindexter Middle School because it's on that same street, right? But then the rumor is that other people at the school and other teachers and kids started making fun of the name, and they thought it was really silly, and they called it Poindexter Middle School, which he didn't like, and he was really proud. So he said, forget it, I'm changing the whole name of the school so no one can make fun of it, and he ended up changing it to Chaparral Middle School. So to honor the original name of my school, I decided to give it to Abby. Okay, so now you guys basically know everything you need to know about Abby and a little bit about me. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about the book. So a lot of people want to know, like, did you always want to be a writer? And if so, like, how do you become a writer or an illustrator? So I actually had no idea what I wanted to be, and I definitely didn't think I could be a writer or an illustrator. So raise your hand if you really like to write. Okay, so a few of you, actually a lot of you. Okay, hands down. Raise your hand if you like to draw or like to make art. Okay, so pretty even. So I knew that I really liked to write, and I knew that I really liked art, but I didn't think that you could do anything with them for real. Like, I didn't think they could be a real job. I just thought books were like, came out of nowhere. I don't know what I thought when I was younger, but I definitely didn't think it was possible to be like an author or an illustrator. So I'm actually gonna take you back way to the beginning to when this all started, which was here. So here are, those are some of my drawings from when I was really, really young. So probably, definitely younger than you. But once it comes back, you can see that some of them are kind of off. And like the face is kind of weird. In one of them, I have actually no idea. I've been looking at this picture for months, and I have no idea what's happening in the picture, but I drew it. My legs are really long in this, so I grew up kind of thinking, going to art class and thinking I wasn't really good at art, and I couldn't draw like realistic pictures, or I couldn't draw the way that I thought my teachers wanted me to draw. So I decided, forget it, I give up, I don't want to be an artist. But I did really like using pictures to express how I was feeling. So then I decided I'll just stick with the art I know, and that was like really simple shapes. So I started drawing really simple shapes and making stick figures. So I like you put a head, and then you get the body, and then you kind of form these using really simple lines. Because I was like, this is art that I can do, stick figures. So I started kind of drawing stick figures with my friends, and we would draw like funny comics together. And we would draw like pictures of our teachers and make like funny jokes to each other. And then I realized that even though this was a really simple drawing, I could actually show like a lot of emotion. So in here you see she's like really nervous, she's like excited, all these different emotions. So I kept doing this. And at the same time that all this was happening, I was just doing it for fun. My teacher told me I had to keep a planner. So do you guys have to keep like planners? Right? Okay, so you write down like when your homework's due, or when you have a test, or like you write down your friend's birthday so that you don't get in trouble when you forget, that kind of thing. So I started keeping this planner because my teacher told me I had to. But I felt like it was kind of boring because it was just like writing like, oh, math homework due today. So then I started kind of playing around with the words a little bit and making them a little more fun and a little more exciting. And then I started dropping in my doodles, and eventually, and to kind of show how I was feeling. So eventually doodles took over my whole planner. And I kept doing this for years and years and years. And I didn't show anyone. It was just doing it just to be fun and just to kind of get out how I was feeling. So I did this for many, many years. And over time, eventually, my art style and what I use my planner for really evolved. So it kind of became, now it looks kind of like this. Well, this is like really epic because you're just like waiting for it to show up. Ta-da! So now this is like my more recent planners. So as you can see, I still use it to keep track of what I'm doing with my life. Like here I went to dinner, and then I had to pack to go to Thailand. So I still use it to keep track of all those things, but I also use it as this creative outlet to get out how I'm feeling and how like just get out my like artistic kind of energy. So I bet now you're thinking, cool, what like this is like a book of doodles, but where is the story, and how do you make that into a book? Because like the whole point of a book is to like tell a story, right? And when you look at these like planners, you don't really know what's going on in my life. You just see these like little snippets of what's happening, like, oh, I'm stressed, oh, I'm excited, but you don't really know. So what happened was at a publishing house, an editor saw this and she thought, I have a brilliant idea. You should write a book. And it just came from this one idea, these pictures. And then I actually thought this lady was like nuts because I had never written a book before, and I didn't even know if I could. And I also didn't really know if I could like really draw. I was like, wait, I've just been drawing for fun. So then the whole process of me trying to make this book was a lot about just kind of forgetting about what I thought I could and couldn't do, and just trying and just doing it. even though I wasn't sure if I knew how. And that's kind of like what Abby's story is about, because Abby's going into middle school and she's not sure what she's good at or what she can and can't do, but she has to do it anyway. So I thought I'd actually read the first few pages of Frazzled. You guys have the book, so even if this doesn't show up, we can go through it, just so you guys can kind of see how I talked about it and how I put these pictures and words together. Okay, so let's start with chapter 1. Now that I'm going into middle school, my whole life is about to begin. That's what Mom told me yesterday, but I didn't know what she meant, and I'm pretty sure she didn't either. Sometimes parents say things because they sound good, even if they aren't true. Like whenever we talk about school, Mom always tells me the same thing over and over again. It'll be great, nothing to worry about, just be yourself, as if saying it will somehow make it more true. Adults are not helpful at all. They just don't get it. I guess for most of them, middle school was about 1 million years ago. Maybe they forgot all the bad stuff, and there's definitely a lot of bad stuff. If you ask me, the worst part about middle school is the fact that it is middle school. Nothing good ever happens in the middles. Consider the Middle Ages. No electricity, lots of wars, and that whole plague thing. The middle seat, goodbye personal space. And being a middle child, trust me, I know from experience, it's terrible. The middle is the worst place you could possibly be. And since middle school is the middle of all middles, I am guaranteed, without a doubt, 100% doomed. So the rest of the story kind of goes through Abby's journey through middle school to figure out whether or not she's actually doomed. So as you can see, and like as you guys have the book in front of you, you can see that there's a lot of words, but there's also a lot of pictures. And so I really wanted to write a book that combined words and pictures together because the book came out of this place of my doodles and this like planner that I had, I really wanted to capture that same spirit. So I'm going to kind of walk you through how I decide what I'm going to draw. So I talk about two things when I decide what I'm going to draw. One, I want to make sure that you, as the person who's looking at this picture, knows, one, what is she feeling, and two, what is making her feel that way. So this is a part from the book, and I'm going to read it to you. So let me set the scene. So basically, Abby has just gotten off the bus to her new school. It's a terrible bus ride because she hates the bus, and she's looking out at this new school that she has to figure out how to like get through it. So she says, middle school is a lot bigger than elementary school. The hallways are bigger, the buildings are bigger, even the kids are bigger. Okay, so can someone tell me, like, what do you think Abby's feeling in this scene? What are some emotions that she's feeling? Yeah?
Nervous.
Good, she's nervous. What else? Annoyed. Okay, what else?
She's scared that she's gonna get run over.
She's scared she's gonna get run over? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, she's comparing herself to other people. She's feeling like she might be more mature, might be smaller. She's feeling really overwhelmed. So I wanted to make sure that whatever picture I drew really got that feeling, okay? So the next thing I did was I kind of looked at what I had written, and then I kind of thought, what is the idea that comes up the most? So what's the word that shows up the most here? Bigger. Okay, good. So I knew I wanted to draw something really big and something really small, right? So then I thought, what can I draw? So the first thought was, I'll draw the middle school looking really big and the elementary school be very, very small. But then I thought that picture might be kind of boring because it's just buildings, and buildings, like, nothing happens. They're just, like, standing there, right? So I was like, no, I gotta have Abby in this picture. So the second thing I thought of was maybe I will draw Abby in the hallways and make the building really big, and Abby will be very small. And then, like, kind of like Jack and the Beanstalk when he's, like, in the giant's house. Then I kind of looked at this again, and I thought, what is Abby really scared about in middle school? It's not the building. Like, the building's scary, but it's not that scary. What's worse for her is this idea of everything that comes along with middle school. It's like the kids, it's everything. So then I decided I was going to draw her with kids. So I thought about it, and then I ended up coming up with this picture right here. And so the great thing about this type of art, or any art really, is that it doesn't have to be anything that you get to decide what you want it to be. So I decided that Abby's art didn't have to be realistic. It could just be something that really expressed how she was feeling. So even though Abby's not actually being crushed by these like older kids, she actually feels that way. So hopefully when you look at this picture, you can also feel that same way and kind of get how like scared and overwhelmed she is. Okay, so I thought we would actually, I rather than just explaining it to you because that's kind of boring, I thought we'd actually try and try it out. So I'm going to ask you guys to help me come up with an emotion, and then I'll draw it for you guys, and we'll think of reasons why she's feeling that way. Hopefully it won't cut out too much. So if you just want to look at this, actually I'll just read it out and you guys can vote. I'm going to ask you guys to vote. So let's wait until it gets up. Let's see. Slowly waiting. Okay, so there's always happy. Does anyone want me to draw happy? No? Okay, sad? Wow, you guys have one in mind, right? Angry? Confused? Okay, there's a lot of confused. Bored? And scared. Okay, I think confused one. Okay, so that's a common one. Everyone wants me to draw confused. So I'm going to draw confused for you guys. And now we got to kind of figure out what is making her feel so confused. So what are some things? It can be anything you want. We just need to figure out what. Okay, so let's get some suggestions. What is making Abby so confused?
Maybe she's confused because she's just walking around the school and she doesn't know where to go.
She doesn't know where to go?
Bumping into different kids saying, hey, you look like your brother. Woo.
That's good. Okay, what else? What other suggestions do we have?
Maybe she's confused that everything is changing all around her.
Okay, good.
Maybe she's confused about what homeroom she's in or where her classes are.
Okay.
The teacher just gave a task during class and she was like, what did she just say?
Okay, good. Okay, so those are all really good ideas. Let's do, let's think. Let's do Abby being confused. Let's see if this goes up. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we should draw, I like that she's at school. I think we should draw her with, let's draw like a combination of those. So one, let's have her be, one being like kind of lost. So we'll have her in the hallway, like standing. And then two, let's have her kind of being like overwhelmed, lots of things around her. You said like homework or something, right?
Maybe she, something about homework that she has a class but she can't find it, so she's late. So
She's late.
overwhelmed about it.
Good, good. Okay, so to show Abby being confused, let's see if we got this going. I always draw like, so I have like a few different poses and a few different things that I do for like her expression. So confused, when I do confused, I always draw her head like this, and then I draw her like confused eyes like this because that's kind of how I feel internally. So when I'm really confused, I look like this in my mind, and maybe in real life too. And so I'm gonna have her scratching her head because she's lost. And then over here, maybe she, let's have her carrying like a piece of paper, like her homeroom class. Do you guys get like sheets of paper where you're like your schedule? Do you guys have different classes?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so confusing, right? You have to like move all the time. It's like, why can't the teachers move? Just kidding. I remember it being very confusing. I would get lost all the time, and one time I showed up to the like wrong class, and I like sat down and everything, and then I found out maybe like 15 minutes into my class that it was wrong. And then everyone laughed at me. It was not fun. So I'm gonna have her sitting down because she's too confused. And then how should we do her mouth? What do you guys think? Open? Okay, definitely. Oh, you'll see it when it comes back up. And so now so basically here I draw an Abby confused, but we don't really know why she's confused, right? So maybe let's draw a bunch of people around her. And also we gotta make sure we draw her, we're gonna draw a huge question mark. And maybe multiple question marks. 'Cause I really like to use up tons of space. And then I'm gonna draw people looking really scary and really big. So I always end up drawing this teacher that I had in my math teacher. His name was Mr. Gillis. And I always draw people with fire eyes when they're mad. He had a really big nose, which you'll see later. And he also had this mustache, and he only had hair on the sides of his head. Okay, and he wore this bow tie, but it wasn't like a cool bow tie. It was like a nerdy bow tie. It wasn't like the hip kind. And then we're gonna draw his. Oops. We're gonna draw his arms right here. And then we're gonna draw him like kind of with a fist. And then we gotta have Mr. Gillis saying something like get to class or something, right? And I really like to use all the like space, especially when she's feeling overwhelmed. If she's feeling happy, like you use the space a little bit differently. When she's overwhelmed, I like using all the space and making it really kind of messy. See, it'll come up soon. Get to class. And there is Abby looking confused. Ta-da! Yeah, so that's pretty much how I do it, and I just do that for every single part of, and I had to kind of go through that thought process when I was drawing all these pictures, trying to figure out like what picture is gonna really take you into Abby's head. So hopefully that's what happens when you read the book. But does anyone have any questions for me? Okay, let's start in the back. Mm-hmm.
Was that how your middle school experience was?
Yeah, so my middle school experience was very similar to Abby's. It wasn't exactly the same, so like I didn't like start a lunch revolution or anything, and I was too nervous about getting in trouble for that. But I did what is it called? Swap food with a lot of different people. So actually, I didn't like the food my mom made, so she told me she would get me like these gummy worms. You know those sour gummy worms? They're like really good, and like sour gummy worms are gold. I'm not joking. I would bring like a really big bag of sour gummy worms, and I'd start trading them, and that's how I would get my lunch. So I've got like all these like someone would trade me like a sandwich for like 3 of them, and I was like, yeah, sandwich. And then they'd be like soda, 4 gummy worms, stuff like that. It was amazing. So that's kind of where Abby's whole like lunch swap was inspired by that. Mm-hmm.
Why did you choose the title for the book?
Oh, I chose the title Frazzled because, I was thinking about how I felt when I was in middle school, and I think the word like stressed wasn't exactly, I feel like adults get stressed, right? And stress also seems like something kind of temporary, like you get stressed and then you relax. But for frazzled, that felt like something that was kind of ongoing. It felt like a state of being was you're frazzled. And it just felt like this perfect word, like silly, but also kind of like a serious word of like how I felt. So that's why I decided to make it the title of the book.
What book that you wrote personally thought was the best one?
That I wrote? This is the only book I've written so far. Yeah, but I'm coming up with my second one. It's the second book of Frazzled. Yeah. Yeah, let's go back and then first the glasses and then we'll do. Oh. Did I have friends like Abby had? Yeah, I had a lot of friends like Abby. Like the only reason why I'm here today is because of my like friends in middle school. Like it was like the best part about middle school was like all the friends I made. Because when I first started, I wasn't sure like where my group was, and then by the end of middle school, I really found my group, and that actually helped me get through high school too. Because then I had my group of friends, and like that's pretty much all you need. Okay. Mhm. Sorry, glasses, and then yeah, we'll do that. Yeah.
What made you have the creative idea to make Frazzled?
It was kind of for my planners. So the editor at this publishing house saw this one picture that I had drawn. It was like, I drew it like maybe a few years ago, so still when I was an adult. And it was really dramatic, and I thought no one would ever see it because it was only for me. And I wrote, I live my life in a constant state of impending doom. And it was like very dramatic, and it was me being crushed by words. And the editor saw that, and she was like, there's a story here. Like, that's our girl. So then from that one doodle, I kind of had to think about, like, who is this girl and what would she be like in middle school and all that stuff. So that kind of came, my whole book kind of came out of that. Mm-hmm.
How did you choose the name Abby?
I chose the name Abby Woo because this sounds really bad. I kind of wanted it to sound like my name, Booki, Abby, because I was like, oh, like she's basically me or very similar to me. So I wanted her to kind of have a name that was like similar to mine, and I wanted it to be spelled a little bit differently. My name's kind of like weird and spelled a little differently. So, do you have a question? Back? No. No. Okay. Go back here. Mm-hmm.
Were there any doubts that you had when you were writing the book?
Oh my God, yes, all the time. At one point, I was like, can I just not do this anymore? I was very nervous because a lot of times when people have a book, they write their book and then they give it to the publisher and then it's done and they make some edits and they change it a little bit. But for me, I had to come up with a story that I didn't know if I could write. So I was like, I was very nervous that I wasn't going to be able to come up with a story that I felt like was good enough or that I felt like I wasn't going to be able to finish in time. And so it was a lot of doubts. And then I kind of had to just like forget about that and just keep pushing through and think more about Abby's story and the story that I wanted to tell rather than what the book was going to be like. Mm-hmm.
Did you compare your actors like to the people that you were back in school?
Yes, absolutely. So it's kind of weird because sometimes some of my friends from middle school and high school have read this and they know exactly who I'm talking about. And it's really funny because like so there's a page that has a layout of the school. My school looked really similar to that. I had a teacher that was like Miss Skelter. I had like the Mean Girls are definitely named kind of after people that were mean to me. So I feel like a lot of the stuff that a lot of people from my real life kind of, especially went from middle school, kind of trickled into this inevitably.
Where did you go to college?
I went to college at UC San Diego. So yeah, it's in San Diego. It was beautiful. It was great. No, back.
When you were editing the book, which part was your favorite?
Ooh. Oh, when I was going through my favorite part. Oh, that's a really good question. I think my favorite parts are the parts when it's like the whole page. Those are also the hardest parts. But then because I wasn't sure, I was like, I don't know if I can draw this. But then when I finished it, it was like my favorite because I felt like I did it, and I wasn't sure if I could. Like there's the pages that it looks like a comic book. I was like, I'd never drawn a comic before, and I was like, I hope I can make this. I hope it works. And so once I finished that, I was like really proud of myself that I was able to do that. Mm-hmm.
Did the book impact your life?
Yeah, it did. It's so funny because the book. So originally, I didn't think I could be a writer because I didn't know if I had any stories to tell. I was like, well, what makes my story important, or are people even going to want to read about this story? And then when I started writing the book and it came out and having people tell me oh, I really identify with Abby, or I really feel I really like your book. It felt very humbling, and also it made me feel really good because it made me realize that everyone kind of has an important story to tell and that everyone kind of has something that they want to say. It's just a matter of actually taking the time and putting that out into the world. So it definitely changed my life. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who's your biggest inspiration?
Ooh, that's really hard. My biggest inspiration, an author or anyone? In general. Ooh, I'm not sure actually. I feel like my biggest inspiration, my grandma is really, really cool. And she is that type of person who, she just is so good. And she's always believed in me and told me that my writing can be a thing. And so I think she's really inspiring because she just never kind of gave up. She was always supportive. I feel like that's really important for me. Mm-hmm.
Besides your inspiration, who was your support system through writing this book?
Ooh, I had a lot of really good support systems. So I have like a lot of really good friends who are just like amazing. And but then on top of that, like my sister, my younger sister, she is very different from me, but she kind of like she like gives me like the true facts. So I'd like call her up and I'd be like, I don't think I could write this book. I can't do it. I'm giving up. She's like, get it together. She was like, get it together. Write your book. It's gonna be good. You're amazing. And so she would just tell me these things. And she was like actually a really huge support system because it was like her confidence in me kind of overcame my lack of confidence in myself. And so I felt like with her, I was able to kind of get through like the difficulties of writing. Mm-hmm.
Has there been any friends or family members that discouraged you in a book or you becoming an author?
It discouraged me. I don't know if it was like they discouraged me. They were just like, what are you doing over there in New York? Like, you know, they would ask me and they'd be like, okay, you're writing that thing? Okay, sure. Or they would, it wasn't like they were like, you can't do it, but they were just not sure what it was. Because most of my family, they're like doctors and my stepdad's like an engineer. And so for them, like anything like a creative world, they didn't really understand and they don't really know much about it. Like my mom, she's really supportive of me, but she didn't really know anything about writing or publishing. So she wasn't sure how to encourage me. She would just tell me like, you can do it, but she didn't know much about it. So I think that like most of my family was just like supportive, but just it was hard because they didn't really understand what everything meant. Mm-hmm.
Is Frazzled gonna be like a big series?
Yeah, well, I don't know how big, but I definitely know there's going to be 3 books for sure. So the second one is supposed to come out this September. I have to finish it soon. Soon.
Is there somebody like similar in your life to Peter?
Yeah, so my cousin, I kind of based Peter off of him because I always thought like he was very cool and he was really good at everything and he was really confident and I like didn't feel like that at all. So I think he's really like my Peter Wu equivalent. Let's see. Mm-hmm.
Where did you get the idea for like the lunch and the lunch ladies and like the 8th grade only?
That like actually happened in my school. The lunch, like literally only 8th graders were allowed to buy pizza. I'm not joking. And I felt like it was really unfair. So it's funny because I think one teacher or reviewer or something said like, oh, this is a good book, but it's not realistic. And then the part that she said wasn't realistic was the part that actually happened in my real life. She said like, oh, they would never do that at school. They would never give only the pizza to the older kids. But that actually happened in my real life. So that just goes to show that you should just write what you want. Okay, let's see. Anyone who hasn't answered the question? Yeah. Yeah.
What made you like the lunch revolution? What is that about?
I wanted Abby to do something that so I didn't start that lunch revolution, but I told you I exchanged food with people. And I just thought it would be fun for Abby to really get swept up into something that she wasn't expecting. Like, I don't think that in the book, I don't think Abby meant to start anything huge. She just kind of wanted to eat good food and have the lunch she wanted. But the great part about life and middle school is that things can happen that kind of put you into these positions where you have to be bigger than you are. You have to take on more than you're prepared to take on. So I really wanted Abby to kind of come up against this idea of now that I have power or now that I have a voice in this school, what does that mean? And what does it look like for me to use this power or this voice that I now feel like I have, but I'm not ready for?
What was the purpose of writing this book?
Purpose? I just wanted to tell a really good story. I just wanted to tell a story that I felt like I hadn't been, that was true to me and that I hoped that people were gonna like too. And I really wanted to talk about this idea of kind of trying to figure out who you are and where you belong, and then realizing that sometimes it's okay not to know. Because even by the end of the book, Abby's not sure what she's gonna do, but I think that by the end of the book, she really comes out feeling like, I might not know, but I'm just gonna keep working at it.
How long it took you to write?
It took me a year and a half. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Ooh, I love all books. I read pretty much everything. So I read a lot of adult books, but then I also really like a lot of like kids and young adult books. I just read this book. Do you guys know Rita Williams Garcia? I literally just finished this book like on the subway 2 days ago. She has a new book coming out called Clayton Bird Goes Underground, and it's really good. And so I just read that. I also read this book that's coming out called Orphan Island. That's like amazing. There's like a few like middle grade books about like I really like stuff like The Giver, where it's like yeah. Okay, so if you like The Giver, you will love Orphan Island, because Orphan Island, it's like so good. But there's like so many different books that I think are about a lot of different genres. But I really like the ones that tell you like more about like that like you can really think about. You know, the ones that aren't necessarily telling you what the moral of the story is, but it's like asking you to figure it out yourself. I love stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. He's not in this first book, but maybe he'll come along later, or maybe he won't. We'll see. I haven't decided yet. Okay, so has anyone not asked the question?
So besides art and writing, do you like, are you interested in?
So I actually work in publishing, so that's why I got an early copy to that Clayton Bird book, because it just came out yesterday. But I got to read it early because I work in publishing because I love books and I love like talking about books. And so when I went to college, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do because I knew I liked to write and draw, but I didn't think I could be an author or an illustrator. So I was like, the next thing that I want to do is I want to just spend my whole time talking about books and like trying to get books out to like people, like to kids. So that's like the other thing I like to do. In the way back. Mm-hmm.
So I have a question on behalf of one of my students who's being shy. She wanted to know what the process was like getting your books published as a woman, but you just mentioned that you are in publishing. So do you have any advice for some of the young women who might like to get their work published someday?
Yeah, I think that the best way to get published is to honestly, it's just to do it and to work hard. I think for me, I kind of fell into it because like, you know, I told you about my doodles and they saw the book. I didn't expect to write a book. And so I think that like what I wish I had done was like I wish I had like really worked at it and like written my book. And I think a lot of times it's easy to get discouraged because you're looking at your book and you're thinking it's not as good as the books you see on the shelves. But those books on the shelves have been like read over 1 million times. They've been edited by like so many people. And I think that it's important to not discredit any creative work that you do. I think that remembering that is like maybe the most important part of getting published, is just continuing to remember that like everything is a process, and the more you write, the better you'll get. And it's just about continuing to write and continuing to work at it. Mm-hmm.
Who's your favorite character in the book other than Annie?
My favorite character is a tie. It's a tie between her brother Peter and her best friend Logan. So originally I wrote Logan, and I wrote him like there was so much more backstory, but then I had to cut it out. So I'm hoping I could like squeeze that in. And if you knew, he's just really cool. I think like he reminds me a lot of my friends that I had in school when I was growing up. And so like he's like really shy and nerdy, but then he's so smart. He's like one of those kids that like you just look at them and you're like, I don't understand how your brain works, but I really like it. Like, you're so smart and cool. So yeah. Let's see.
Did you make more friends in college or middle school?
Ooh, that's hard. I think I made a pretty like even number of friends, but it's harder because in middle school, I went to a really small middle school, and then I went to the same. So my middle school was like elementary school, middle school, and high school. Everyone was the same, like same town, same small town, everything, same people. But then when I went to college, there were a lot more people. So I think inevitably, like it was about the same amount, but just from like very different like areas and places.
So we have time for 2 more questions.
2 more? Okay. Who hasn't asked anything? Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna tell you something really silly. When I was really young, I really wanted to be like an elephant trainer. So like my parents are from Thailand, and I would go to Thailand, and they have like elephants there, and you like ride them into the jungle and stuff. Like I'm not joking. And so I did this when I was young a bunch, and I was like, I can do this. Like I can lead these people around the jungle. So that was like my silly answer. And then other than that, I had no idea. That was like it was either that or nothing.
What other thing that you do when you're not writing?
Other things, I read a lot. I watch TV a lot. I really like watching TV and movies. And I eat a lot. Okay,
Last question.
last question. Okay, anyone not ask a question yet? Oh, in the way back, yeah.
What is your favorite thing about the book?
Ooh, my favorite thing about the book is that I finished it. I remember thinking, like, sometimes when I look at the book, I'm like, I can't believe I actually like did it all, because it feels really different from when you're writing it on your computer or when you're drawing the pictures separately. But to see it all come together as one whole book, I think like that's my favorite. It's like being able to look at it and like see and remember things that I remember thinking when I was drawing something. Like some of those I had to draw during vacation. Some of those I drew like when I was in the airport, some pictures, you know? So it's like looking back and seeing the book as a whole and kind of remembering the stories inside the book and like behind this like pictures and stuff like that. That's always like the best part, I think. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. You guys are so good.